Talmud Bavli, we're asking a question. We ask a question. Amapis Mursov, if a person opens up an abscess on Shabbos, if he intends to make an opening, a mouth in it, that if he intends to make opening in it, he would be chayav, because it's like a binyan. There are 39 principal types of activities that a Jew is not permitted to be done on the Sabbath. These types of activities are determined by what was necessary to be done to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle, in the wilderness when the Jews left Egypt. The Gemara discusses those in the Gemara Shabbos, and any type of activity that represents that type of activity is prohibited to be done. Strictly speaking, it's almost every type of constructive type of activity. And do we say that it's like a binyan, building? When you build a building, you make openings for the doors. Or here, you're making an opening. So the question is asked, you can ask the question, is there such a thing as building in relation to a living person? And the answer is yes, because we have in the Torah, when God created Chava, Eve, from Adam Arishon, he built up the rib, the side, what you would call it, into a woman. So that, since the Torah calls it binyan, building, so we accept it that this is the type of building. So the question is asked, if he wants to make an opening, a mouth, etc., but it means an opening, and therefore it's a type of activity in building, he's chayav, he shouldn't be doing it, or just the only intent is to lay out this pus, in other words, to relieve the pain. Should that be permissible? A potter, he's potter, and not only potter, it's permissible to be done in the first, because of the pain, the tsar that he's trying to avoid. So can we compare it to the same case where a person is consummating his marriage, and there is a question of bias mitzvah? It's a mitzvah to consummate the marriage, and so therefore it's also there perhaps the same thing. It's not really a wound in the sense we know wounds. It's just releasing the vaginal blood. Can we compare the two cases? That's what the question is the Gemara is asking. And for the Gemara, and on Zayin Omid Aleph, Hokid v'okir. In the case of the abscess, the mursa, it was gathered together and it comes out all. The pus all comes out. You make an opening, the pus comes out. But here in the case where there is a consummation of marriage, Hokid, it is gathered together the virginal blood, lo okir, but not all the pus, not all the blood comes out. Sometimes takes several intercourses before all the virginal blood is removed. And so therefore perhaps it's not to be comparable. So that's the question they asked, whether it's permissible or not. Now we're coming back to the original question, whether or not it's permissible to have intercourse with a virgin bride on the Ami Shabbos. Rabbi permits it to have the first sexual intercourse in the beginning on Shabbos. Amri le Rabbanan. Rabbanan said to him, what if a person just married a girl and he had no chance yet to write the marriage contract, Kesuvos? And we have halacha that a Jewish woman is not permitted to stay with her husband, and certainly not to live with him, if she doesn't have a marriage contract. If, God forbid, a Jewish woman lost her marriage contract, she must go to the Rav and get a substitute prepared. Nowadays, Baruch Hashem, we have Xeroxing, so you can make several copies in case, God forbid, you lose the original. You have something to show that, in fact, it is originally taken. And in the case of Chaim Moshe and my daughter, when they got married, we also got now, we have a VCR that movies where the marriage, the Kesuvos was being read. So you got another proof, a raya, that in fact it was didn't have those evidence. That's the case. And if we ever get that far, we'll discuss what if a woman can't show a marriage contract, what secondary evidence can be used to show that in fact when she got married, she was marrying as a virgin and top money. What's your
$1 or 100 man sign a paper saying they...
One is talking about where you can get married again. No, we will learn later in the
I mean,
Gemara
before
that
that-
certain things occur when a virgin gets married than when a woman that's already been married before, certain customs. But at any rate, that will be later. What if the marriage contract has not been written yet? How can he consummate the marriage if they want to consummate the marriage? Omer lahu, he says to them, there is an eitzah. No, you went through the marriage ceremony, you didn't write the Kesuvos.
And it's
It was
Shabbos?
Erev Shabbos, you can't write it on Shabbos. You have to, so the eitzah, can he consummate it this Shabbos after he's already...
They don't have a Kesuvos yet.
If they haven't written the Kesuvos. So the eitzah is, Tofsom Metaltalin. The eitzah is that he should give to her Metaltalin. Metaltalin is private property that you can move. Metaltal means to move. In other words, personal property, you call it in American law, that she has under her control as some kind of a mashkin, that is a collateral for her Kesuvos until it can be written later on. And
Put that in her name. How does she make a kinyan on Shabbos to get that?
what? Whatever it has required, two honors.
How does she make a kinyan to take the property when it's Shabbos?
Well, she can have it.
Can you make any kind of a kinyan on Shabbos?
Yeah, you can have a kinyan hakbah.
You can do that on Shabbos? A kinyan? You're acquiring something on Shabbos, you're allowed to?
She's not acquiring it, she's only acting as a mashkin getting under her control. If it's in the house and it belongs to him, he just turns it over to her. You're holding it as collateral. And it seems to be permissible. Not only that, you see a little olive? See a little olive there? And Ayin Mishvat near mitzvah, way on the outer column, way over here, the outer column, Ayin Mishvat near mitzvah, that's an indication that we paskin that way. The halacha is that way. If you look in the Shulchan Aruch, you will find that this is the way we paskin the halacha. So we have an eitzah now. In case it should happen, this is one of the ways of providing for such a situation. All right. Now, Rav Zvid, another great authority, Shabbos, permitted to have the first intercourse with a virgin bride on Shabbos. Others say, Rav Zvid Gufeh. Rav Zvid himself got married, he married a virgin, and he himself had the first intercourse on Shabbos. So therefore, that's the best side in the world that he held that was permissible. So permitted it to have the first intercourse. Now, the laws of Yom Tov are slightly different than the laws of Shabbos. And so therefore, perhaps there might be a shaila whether or not it's permissible on Yom Tov, or perhaps not permissible on Shabbos, according to, you understand? You following? Moshe?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Amar Rav Papi, Mishpeda Rabba, Rav Papi says in the name of Rabba, Lo Tema, don't say, only on Yom Tov is it permissible. Hal Shabbos also, but on Shabbos it would be prohibited to have the first intercourse with a virgin bride on Shabbos. The same law would apply, Shabbos Namishori, even on Shabbos, if it happened to be on Shabbos, it's also permissible to have the first intercourse. And the action that was, that's the way it was. In other words, it happened that was a Yom Tov, rather. You understand?
In the case of Rav Yehuda.
Yeah.
So he's saying by him personally...
It happened that way. But he would have been permitted it. But now there comes an authority, it says Rav Pop. There is one authority that holds that Yom Tov is permissible and Shabbos is not. We don't have to get into the ramifications of it. We're just going here. Omali Rav Popi the Rav Popo. Rav Popi asked Rav Popo, why do you make a differentiation between Yom Tov and Shabbos? My daitachol, what is your reasoning? You're saying, perhaps you're saying, since you permit making a wound, for instance, you permit, what's the reason that you permit to have, of course, on Yom Tov more than on Shabbos? A tzorach, and you have a heter, an extra heter on ochel nefesh. You are permitted to prepare any kinds of food on Yom Tov. For instance, if necessary, you can chef, and you can go on the shchit prepared on Yom Tov.
You can catch an animal
on Yom Tov. If you have it there, you can chef it. You got the knife prepared ahead of time. You can chef it, and there's a shadow whether you can have makasadam later on, or but you can save it at least until after Yom Tov. But at any rate, you certainly can chef it on Yom Tov. Whereas on Shabbos, You're not permitted to have shchita. So what's your reasoning? We took shehut tzorech in the case where it's permissible for ochel nefesh. So for permissible, it's also permissible for something that you don't really need. It's not for tzorech ochel nefesh. It's just that he has to have anoah for this day that he wants to time the mitzvah.
That since on Yontif, you're allowed to make a chabura for ochel nefesh.
Yeah.
So
perhaps you want to make a differentiation.
So by anything, you're allowed to make a chabura.
No, but you want to make a differentiation between that and consummating the marriage with a virgin bride.
They're comparing the two cases between a shrita and consummation of a marriage.
Yeah. Now, according to your reasoning, if that's what you're saying, you would also say it's permissible to go and make a mugmar. What's a mugmar? Mugmar is where you take spices and you finish off, glaze off, if you will, vessels and make it look very nice. It's something that only very expensive taste types need that kind of extra thing. The ordinary person wouldn't make any difference to him, whether or not you had that or anything like that. Mugmar, finish it up on Yontif. You would perhaps you would also permit mugmar, because that's something that is only a person that is really has a very expensive taste would be involved in. Or since you permit avora is a fire, cooking on Yontif, you cook the meals for Yontif. But for Namish Lovatzarch, you could also permit this mugmar, this smoking, this vessel to make the ornamentation, the extra ornamentation.
They use fire. They use fire in that process.
Yeah, well, with spices, that would somehow make a certain ornamentation on it.
Yeah.
So this is the question he asked. So he answers him, Omar Lei, he says to her, Alecha Omar Kro, on you. The Pasuk comes to say, Achasher yochal ochel nefesh. This, what you can eat for every person, ochel nefesh, is permissible on Yontif. Dovar hashav ochel nefesh, anything that's permissible for all people to, that's equal to all people to have, this is you can. That means it is permissible. Everybody would like to go and live with their bride. A bia rishono, it's a bia mitzvah. It's also considered a mitzvah to consummate the marriage. So this is also everybody.
Shava means equal. What does it mean here? It means here.
It is. Most people want to have that. Also this type of activity. But no, not most people want that type of.
So mugmar is not. You can't say the same thing
about mugmar. No.
So in other words, the question was by mugmar whether you can do it on Yontif or not.
Yeah. Because you want to say because you don't need it as much.
So we're learning now you can't do mugmar on Yontif because most people don't want that.
Most people are not that concerned about the extra thing. He says, according to your reasoning, if a person happens to have a deer, he gets a deer and you can check the deer on Yontif. I learned shchita when I was in yeshiva, and I got kabbalah on shchita. And the one that gave me the order, the one that taught me, Gershman, he was a sheikh at Rabbi. He used to live near the Ramesh shul on the west side, and he taught me shchita, ma'aser shchita, hashchazas, sakim, and I used to go in the chicken stores, and we used to chef a lot of offals. I chefed over 650 offals before I got kabbalah. Yeah, and I went to also and got this. I baked over 500 reyes, lungs, and so I have that extra training. And he once told me that almost had a chance once to chef a deer. He never got around to doing it, but deer is the venison. Kosher, yeah, it's kosher if it's chefed. So what if it happened that a person got a deer and the question whether or not he could use it? Now that's not usually the type of meat you would eat on Yom. But if it becomes available, you could. However, English because most people don't usually get venison meat there. Perhaps it's also prohibited to be shechted. He says to him, no, I'm talking about dobar atzorach l'chol nefesh k'amina. I'm talking about a thing that's needed for every person, for the young to. A deer is also could be used for simchas yontif, and if it comes available, you could shecht it, and there's no problem. You understand?
Shabbat doesn't mean available.
Equally comparable, equally, I would say more, and it is accessible. It's
Okay, but in the case by a bride, you would say that, what does Shabbat mean also?
There you would say that this most people would want to be able to go and consummate the marriage.
Something that's...
Yes. I don't know, we have a minion yet?
I'm trying to figure out how you're
Comparing whether or not you need it or not, and whether that's permissible or not, whether it is.
on that basis.
Yeah, just on that basis alone, I'm trying to say if this is comparable. I think perhaps we should...
We need three.
Three? Maybe we should call a few people, get a minion. All right.
Oh, wait, we need two. We need two.
Sorry, I don't just like to go into Gomorrah because, first of all, you're not. And secondly, yeah, if you come more often, well, we give variety, advanced, and he would like to learn it. But a lot of the other people are not there. Moshe, don't talk too long. If they don't want to come, talk to the next one. I mean, I know never. Torah says there's always a diminution because we got old people, and so we got a book. A lot of the people are dead already. Nobody to call. And people move out of the neighborhood. This is one of the reasons I come here. So I see most of you got 3 or 4 or 5 minyonim. They don't need it. I mean, this way, if a person has your site in this area, he's got a place to daven. Otherwise, he has no place to daven. Since I have a car, it doesn't make any difference that far. Years ago, I lived nearby. Yeah, on Shabbos they have 3 minyonim. There shouldn't be any problem. But during the weekdays, in the morning they have also a meeting. But people work or they're tired now at this hour. And usually I have several talmidim, they show up, and sometimes they don't show up. I come anyway. It doesn't deter me. If I have one student to show up, it's not a question of, as I pointed out to you, it's not a question whether you have success or not. You keep on plugging away, you do what you have to do, and the Rabbi Shem will make everything work out fine. Great Rabbi makes everything work out fine. It just takes time. Well, so we stop this until we're done. I call your attention. We're now going to learn how to read the printing, the Hebrew printing of Rashi script, they call it. Actually, if you'll notice, you'll look on the side where the Aleph base is, and we will go and see the way the Aleph base is printed ordinarily. You'll notice the Aleph for Rashi Aleph looks different than the Aleph that's printed for the regular printing. A little different altogether. It looks like a kuf with a little crown on the top of it. The Beis is a small tzaddik. The Gimel, you can recognize the same thing. Dalet is almost the same. The Hay is almost like the writing of the Hay. The Vav is almost the same. The Zayin, if you'll notice, the head face the other direction, opposite direction, is a short kuf with not such a long stem. The test is almost the same. The yud is almost the same. The chaf is almost the same. The final is a little, instead of having a straight line, it's a little curved line on the base, on the bottom of it. The lamed, if you'll notice, the lamed goes straight up, and it's a little different than the regular lamed. Mem, as you'll notice the difference there, the final mem looks like a samach, but it's a final mem in the Rashi script. The nun looks like a chof. You'll notice the difference between a nun and a chof. The chof is more rounded. If you notice up there, the final nun is almost the same, it's just a little snaky down at the bottom. The samach, it looks like a samach with a little tail on the bottom. Remember, the samach that looks like what looks like a samach is the final mem. Now the third column. Ayin looks like an ayin. The pei looks like a chof with a little tooth to distinguish it. The final pei is a little wiggly down there. It starts out and wiggles down. The tzaddik, you'll notice the tzaddik has like a chof with a little line going, an ear. The final tzaddik is like a crescent with whatever it is. A kuf you can recognize, the resh is the same thing, the sheen is different, and the sof is almost the same. Now, it takes practice to do it. Now what we're going to do on the next page, Toldos Rashi. It talks to you about the life story of Rashi, the great Rashi that we know about. And we're going to read his life story.
And we're all going to read
We're
it.
all going to read it, and you're going to read it together with me. Now, I must tell you first of all, the reason that it's printed this way is for several reasons. First of all, this is the way we happen to have the commentaries printed in this script, so we got to learn how to read it. Number one, don't fight it, you join it. So you'll know two different ways of Hebrew printing. Nothing wrong with that. Broaden your knowledge. Just don't become upset if you can't recognize a letter at first. It takes a little practice. No big deal. After a while, you will be able to read it just as well as you can read the regular Hebrew.
What if you can't read it?
Well, then you do have a problem. But hopefully you can get to the point where you can start reading the regular Hebrew. And now, what we're going to do is I'm going to read the regular Hebrew. And incidentally, you have a section of regular Hebrew printed, and right opposite it, you have a section of Rashi Hebrew printed, the same words. So first I'm going to read the story in regular Hebrew, and then I'm going to repeat it with you all reading each word after me. Now you'll notice this regular Hebrew, not only does it have regular Hebrew printing, but it doesn't have any vowel sounds printed. Now that again is what you have to expect in the Gemara and in the Mishnayos. They don't print with vowel sounds. So the sooner you get to learn how to read with vowel sounds, the better. You see what the important thing is, I'm trying to teach you here, is to build up your capacity so that eventually, with God's help, you can go to the original sources and you can get the intelligence and the understanding of what you're supposed to learn. Once you can learn on your own, then the sky's the limit. You can become as great a Talmud Chacham as you would want to become. You're prepared to put in the time and the effort, you can become there. The trouble is with so many people, they sit and they listen to shiurim year after year, those that come, year after year, and then at the end of all those years, they still can't learn. So that is not proper. Why waste all that potential when you yourself can become a Ben Torah in your own right? And it's within your power. Don't assume that you can't do it. Because I'm testifying that when I first started, I couldn't do it either. So all of a sudden, it didn't happen overnight. But eventually, if you persist, you know how to do it. It's no big deal. And if you will persist here and you come on a regular basis, you will be able to do it. And not only will you be able to do it, you'll be able to teach others. If you go along, it's a question of application. I can't apply for you to be a Ben Torah. I would suggest that it's to your own advantage to become a Ben Torah. If you learn Torah, you can learn what the Torah demands of you. Once you know what you can do, what you can demand of you, then you have a fighting chance to serve God the way He wants to be served. But if you're always boxed out because of language barriers, you're your own worst enemy. You don't need somebody else to go and keep you away from Yiddishkeit. You're keeping yourself. There's no necessity for that. Okay? We understand? It's very necessary that you should be able to do this. Now I'll read word after word, and you can read after me, word after word, and I'll translate each word. I'll read you a sentence at a time. Ish Yehudi, Ish means a man, Yehudi, a Hebrew man, Hoya was the Ir Troish, in the city Troish. There is a city in France called Troy. It's on the Rhone River Valley. If you go up, if you are acquainted with the map of France, modern-day France, on the Mediterranean there is the city of Marseille. If you go up that river, it goes up there, near the place where it bends, there's the city of Troy. Rashi was born. There was a Hebrew man in the city of Troy, in the land of France, Yitzchok, and his name was Yitzchok. Who are y'all? You following me? Read here. I'll read it again. Follow my line. Let's read these lines. This part. Ish Yehudi, a Hebrew man, Troish, in the city of Troish, the Eretz Surface, in the land of France. Ushmo Yitzchok, and his name was Yitzchok. Who are y'all? He was a chassid, pious with Torah, and great in Torah. The Rabbi Yitzchok To Rabbi Yitzchok, Nolad Ben, was born a son. Akora Shemo, and he called his name Shlomo. Shlomo ben Yitzchok. Who? Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchoki. He is Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchoki. Hanikra, it's called Baroshi Tevos, with the beginning of the word Rashi. Rashi, the Resh is for Rabbi, and Shin for Shlomo, and Yud for Yitzchoki. Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchoki. Or like now modern days we call him Rabbi Shlomo ben Yitzchok.
I thought his last name was Rashi.
Rambam is Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon. So we take the Rosh Tevos, the beginning of the word, for Rabbi, Moshe, the M, Mem, Beis for Ben, and Maimon is the other Mem. So you have Rambam, that's Maimonides. You get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Second paragraph. Rabbi Shlomo Nolad was born in the year Arba Alafim, 1,000, Meos, and 800 Yitzira, to creation, from creation, to creation. So that's 4,800 of creation. And what's the year we have today? 5,744 creation. So how many years ago did Rashi was born?
About
900 years ago he was born. So now you have an understanding of what it is. Now I'm going to read it again, word by word.
I want to make a phone call.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And word by word, and we're going to go over it, and you're going to read it, and then after we read it in the Hebrew, the way you're used to reading it, no, right over here, right here, in the rabbi study. No, that's the Ane answer, Al Hashelos on the questions, Biksov. But actually we'll do it by Al Peh, by word of mouth. We'll do it more orally. First things first. What's your dov and nod? You're exiled? All right, fine. You're getting the Gemara a little bit? Right. That's an unusual type of animal that you have. Oh yeah, of course. It's what people would eat.
Yep.
Well, why not? We're waiting. That's not only the ordinary things, I would imagine. We can look the halacha up if you wish.
How could it be not muksa on Shabbos or any day to smoke?
We're not talking about Shabbos. Talking on Yom Tov. That's another question, because smoking undermines your health.
Are you allowed to undermine your health, even though you can't conquer your yetzer?
So then you're not to smoke at all then?
I would imagine so, because it's violating a positive commandment. You should watch your soul. It means watch your health. A Jew is not permitted to undermine his health under any circumstance. You don't have to wait for Shabbos and Yom Tov, even on a weekday. Is a Jew permitted to drink poison? No. Well, I don't know. We'll discuss that at a different time. All right, let's get to the point now. Let's read it over again.
I think that you brought up
Yeah.
drinking and about drugs. They don't understand that it's not permissible as a...
It's not permissible to go and undermine your health. It's against the Torah law.
It's
A definite Isser, prohibition. A person is not permitted to, for instance, take his life. You're not permitted to commit suicide. I recall, this is a sad incident, I recall when my father of blessed memory died of cancer 31 years ago, and this is your side tonight. And when I came across the Shulchan Aruch, he was learning about whether or not he can commit suicide. That's how much pain he had.
Yeah.
That's where the bookmark is.
Yeah.
I kept the bookmark, all the pain. There is a shaila there, whether or not a person can commit suicide. There is a ram in the Dorim that permits us, if God forbid a person is definitely going to die, to pray to God to take that person, but not to take any affirmative action in that respect.
Would it be better just to pray that the person gets better, even though it seems impossible?
Well, of course, there's always hope. There's life, there's hope. But yes, yeah. Chinami, there's talking about when Yeshaya and Avi came to Chizkiyahu, and he told Chizkiyahu that God told him that he was going to die because he refused to get married. Was a prophet himself. He was the king of Israel, and he saw it like Kodesh that he would have a son that would be a good-for-nothing bum, a Russia, and he didn't want to have any part of it. A wicked type. So he didn't want to go and have any part of it, so he decided he was going to get married. Simple as that. I could have what's up. No way. And so God sent a message to Yeshaya Navi at the same time he lived, and he told him, you're going to die. It's none of your business what's going to happen. You got to do what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to engage in the mitzvah for a rule. Have fruitful and multiply. It's a positive commandment in the Torah that a Jewish man is obligated to try to have children. You're not supposed to not have children. Of course, you got to get married to a proper wife. I'm not talking about just marrying anybody, but you're supposed to have a proper wife. But you're supposed to try to have children. And Chizkiyahu said, "I'm going to pray to God, and He'll change the decree." And Yeshaya said, "It's too late. He's made the decree." Chizkiyahu says, "I have a tradition from my ancestors, Dovinamah, that even if the knife is on the throat, you can still pray." I'm by nature an optimist, and if there's any life in Alavai, it should be. No question about it. I'm not being pessimistic about it, but unfortunately, there are sometimes a situation develops where it's a living death to continue to exist. And perhaps that's what the Ran would apply to in such a circumstances. But if there's any possibility, even the slightest possibility, try to do everything we can to save it. Let's go down to the Rashi.
There's always a possibility, no matter what disease.
I'm not saying no.
So would that
Almighty wants a person to live, he'll live.
But would that void that?
Without any medicine. Another person with all the medicine in the world, he won't live.
No matter what happens, there's always a chance. Then how could that apply?
I can theoretically understand that sometimes it could apply. I personally would not be...
it's impossible not to be cured.
Again...
Even then, they can come back to life.
Okay.
So for life, for health.
Yeah.
But also, aren't we looking forward to the world to come?
But this, we can only be sure of getting mitzvahs.
The only way you can go and serve God properly is when you're healthy. If you're sick, you're undermining your capacity to serve Him in the proper way.
Yet at the same time, we're looking forward to the world to come.
If we are righteous types, yes, we're trying to go and work. We're trying to work for something in the future.
So we're scared to die because they may not go.
This is life is, like they say, such a short period, and you're here. In other words, it's all a preparation.
All right, now I want you to repeat after me. I want you to, we'll read the regular Hebrew, and you repeat each word after me. And you look inside, please. Hoya.
The ear.
There was a Hebrew man in the city of Troy. Say that.
There was a Hebrew man in the city of Troy.
And his name was Yitzchak. He was pious and great in Torah. The Rabbi Lad Bain, the Korash Eshemo, and called his name, and he called his name.
Who Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchak is Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchak.
That's called with the beginning of the word Rashi. The beginning of each one of those words. Rabbi is for Reish, and Shlomo is Shin, and Yud is for Yitzchak. Was born Bishnas in the year of Arba'a Elofim 4,000 Ushmona males and 800 to creation. Now I want you to cover the regular Hebrew. I'm going to read now the Rashi script. Please cover it with your hand. Or put something else on it. But you can't see it. You got it? Read it.
The
Eretz Surfa.
The Eretz Surf Torah. But
the Rabbi Yitzchak Nolad Davis Rashi. Rabbi Shlomo Nolad Zimmerman. Say it. Loftim. All right. Anybody can read that in Rashi and translate it?
What?
What does that mean?
But was he from the tribe Yehuda?
Hebrew man. Please don't make comments. We're just learning the thing. This is not Tanakh.
Chassid.
Chassid is a pious. To Rabbi Yitzchak was born a son. The Koresh.
And his name was Shlomo.
And he called his name Shlomo. Who Rabbi Shlomo? He is Rabbi Shlomo.
His name in the
words. Rabbi Shlomo Bishnas 4,000 Ushmona males and 800 Liyatzira to creation. All right, now I'll read the questions and you answer me. Anei al shelos. So it says answer on the questions, be writing, but we'll do it by al-peh, by word of mouth. Eifo Gor Aviv Shel Rashi. Where did the father Rashi dwell? Eretz up. Gor, the earth. And the next question is, Ezu Eretz he Troish. Which land is Troish in? The Hebrew place. Eretz Tzafas. Good. Ma Korim Tzafas Acheres. What do we call Tzafas in another language? Or in German it's called Frankreich. If you want to know. Now the Yitzchak. What was the nature of Rabbi Yitzchak?
It was a
Hebrew.
Gadol.
Good. You get with it after a while. It'll flow with you. Just a question. Most I know like Rashi. When was Rashi born? Yeah? All right. Let's read one more page on Beis. It's just a practice. It does it every time. You'll be surprised. You look at here. I'm reading it. It's very easy. All right. I'll read the regular Hebrew. A poor man was his father Yitzchak.
Ish Ani Haya Avi
was his father Yitzchak.
Ach Sarach Chalko.
But he was satisfied with his lot. It was samach means actually happy with his lot. Rach means tender in years. That means young. His father began to teach him Torah. And the boy was very wise. And he learned with diligence. Cheshech. Okay? All right. Nifla'ah. He was outstanding with a wondrous memory. Pay attention. Read. Nifla. He was Nifla. He was outstanding with a memory that was wondrous. Zikaron. Zikaron, all right. Aviv. All that he heard from the mouth of his father. Asher Korah b'Sefer.
Asher Korah b'Sefer.
Or which he read in a book. Or which he read in a book. He remembered. And he didn't forget. The Meshach Shonim
Rabos.
In a duration of many years. To have that kind of a mind, to remember it, the Vilna Gaon had that kind of a mind. That he could learn something and remember for many years. You got to have a cup. Oz Yotze the Yalad Shem Tov. Shem Tov. Then there went out to the boy a good name. V'kol Yehudi Troyish, and all the Jews of Troyish said, He osid that in the future become a great person in Israel. All right, now I want you to cover the regular Hebrew. And we're going to read the Rashi script together. Each on don't make games out of this. This is very serious. Each are read. Yitzchak. A poor man was his father Yitzchak. But he was happy with his lot.
What?
Shlomo. Shlomo. When Shlomo was tender in years, Alamdo Torah. His father began to teach him Torah. And the boy was very smart. Lomad b'cheshech. And he learned with diligence. On the Zichron Nifla'ah. He was outstanding in a wondrous memory. Aviv. All that he heard from the mouth of his father, Asher Korah b'Sefer, or which he read in a book, he remembered. V'lo shachach, and he never forgot. B'meshach shonim rabos, for a duration of many years. Yotzei, v'yalad. Then there went out to the boy a good name. V'chol Yehudi Troyish, Amru. And all the Jews of Troy said, Kiosi, that in the future, Julios will become a great person in Israel. Now, would you answer the question? Aniyah She'elos, answer the question, Tzav and written, as we would Baal Peh. We'll do Baal Peh. Hoya Aviv Shlomo Asher Oni. Was the father of Shlomo wealthy or poor? What's the Aviv Shlomo Hoya Oni? 2. Eitzu mi loma b'yamei Yaduso. Did Shlomo learn in the days of his youth? How did he learn? All right.
He learned during
Hoyalo, what extraordinary capacity did he have? Good. What did it say about him? Allah means upon him. The sons of his city, the inhabitants of the city. What did they say about him?
He has a good.
Hebrew, please.
I don't know. I've been trying to read so hard I don't remember what it was.
Getting is a little difficult. Thank you.
How about should I do in Hebrew or English?
It's in Hebrew and English.
I do the Hebrew. Kulam tzadikim la'olam ma'aseh yadai lahis pa'er.
Israel will have a share in the glory to come, as it is said, your people shall be righteous, they shall possess the land forever. They are a plant of my own, the work of my hands, wherein I make glory.
What does it mean?